welcome to Brass Tacks. I'm Anusha Soni. In a major development, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has been summoned by the Central Bureau of Investigation in the liquor policy, the excise policy scam case. He is to appear before the agency on the 16th of April. Legally, his status right now is neither of a witness or of an accused, but his alleged role and involvement with the key accused in the case is being probed by the agency. Simply put, the alleged irregularity and allegations of the kickbacks in the liquor policy scam could not have happened without the knowledge of the sitting Chief Minister. When Mr. Kejriwal appears before the central the agency shall attempt to seek answers to these stinging questions. On the other side, the Aam Aadmi Party has openly attacked the BJP. The AAP insists the BJP and the government are misusing the central agencies. They call it political witch hunt and vendetta. While till the courts of law decide conclusively on these cases and high-profile investigation, the blows shall be exchanged in the court of public perception, and each round shall be critical for the big battle of 2024. Our top focus on Brass Tacks tonight.
जो भी हुआ है, जो भी डीलिंग हुई है, वो अरविंद केजरीवाल के घर पर होगी, अरविंद केजरीवाल के कहने पर होगी। तो इस बात का जवाब तो अरविंद केजरीवाल को देना पड़ेगा।
दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री के खिलाफ, अरविंद जी के खिलाफ मोदी जी ने ये साजिश रचना शुरू कर दिया।
So why has the CBI summoned Arvind Kejriwal for questioning in the liquor scam case? The Enforcement Directorate's charge sheet claims that the accused Sameer Mahendru did a video call with the sitting Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. The remand note of another accused, Amit Arora, mentions Kejriwal's name. And Manish Sisodia's former PA claimed he was given the revised liquor policy report at Mr. Kejriwal's home. Let's tell you a bit more about this particular report. This report was allegedly given to Sisodia's former PA, C. Arvind. The report allegedly mentioned 12% margin for the wholesalers, which was an increase from the previous 6% margin. C. Arvind was allegedly told to implement the liquor policy based on this particular report. What the criticism has been that this hike from 6 to 12% was completely erroneous, and more importantly, there was no prior consultation which was held before the number was hiked from 6 to 12%. The 6% is the alleged kickback. Well, let's take this question to our guest as well, who are joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Manjinder Singh Sirsa from the BJP is with us on the broadcast. We also have Tushar Gupta, who's the senior editor of the Swaraj magazine, joining us on the broadcast. Good evening to both of you. Mr. Sirsa, coming to you first. I must ask you this question because the Aam Aadmi Party said this in a press conference, that you are blatantly misusing the agencies. This is nothing but a political vendetta. You are out there to nab the opposition parties in the hunt, for electoral victories ahead of 2024.
So, while we talk about this particular case, I must apprise you, this is the same Arvind Kejriwal who used to say कि अगर कानून होता तो लालू प्रसाद यादव आज जेल में होते, who used to say कि ये शरद पवार सबसे करप्ट हैं, या पी चिदम्बरम सबसे बेईमान हैं, या मिस्टर देन लॉ मिनिस्टर वो सबसे करप्ट हैं, और ये उन लोगों के साथ आज गले मिलकर कहें कि वो सब ईमानदार हो गए, तो वी आर नॉट एट फॉल्ट. इट इज अरविंद केजरीवाल फॉल्ट. नाउ द पर्सन हु यूज्ड टू फील कि ये सब लोग करप्ट हैं, द मोस्ट करप्ट पीपल हु आर बीन अरेस्टेड एंड कन्विक्टेड बाय सीबीआई, टुडे दे आर क्लीन फॉर अरविंद केजरीवाल. उससे उसने कि दूध के धुले हो गए, उनको गले जाके मिलते हैं. एंड नाउ आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस केस. ही सेज इट्स अ वेंडेटा. सी, इट्स अ वेरी सिंपल क्लीन केस. Arvind Kejriwal, being a chief minister, is the only chief minister of this country who is not signing a single file, single document. Why? Because he knew that the money he's collecting may be from a liquor scam, from a bus scam, from a school scam, or from a power scam. One day he has to pay it. He has to pay for that. And that's the reason he's not signing any document. And when you come to this particular case, Arvind Kejriwal was the one who constituted the group of ministers committee to make this excise policy. So the three ministers were in this group of ministers committee. One was Manish Sisodia ji, Satinder Jain ji and the Transport Minister, Mr. Gehlot. So these three ministers constituted a committee. They decided that this is the policy. This policy was actually a tailor-made policy, and that was not drafted by the department. In fact, it was drafted by the people who are interested in this liquor, who are close friends of Arvind Kejriwal. They drafted this policy. They sent this policy through WhatsApp to Minister Manish Sisodia, and then Arvind Kejriwal has handed over that this is the policy and this is the draft, and you have to implement this policy. I'm not saying this. This is C. Arvind, the Danik officer, who before the magistrate has given this statement. The second most important statement here is Mr. Dinesh Arora. Now, who is the Dinesh Arora? Is the BJP guy? No. He is the close associate of Arvind Kejriwal, whom Arvind Kejriwal used to visit on his birthday, on his son's birthday, used to post his pictures with Mr. Dinesh Arora, and suddenly, when the question of this policy arose, he immediately deleted all that pictures. What forced Arvind Kejriwal to delete that pictures? And now what Dinesh Arora is saying, he said कि ये policy जो थी ये साउथ के लोगों के कहने पे बनाई गई, उन्होंने 100 करोड़ रुपए एडवांस दिया, वो एडवांस हमने यहाँ भेजा, इस आदमी के माध्यम से भेजा. And very interestingly, I must tell you one thing, one of the stakeholder in Delhi business had given his 2/3 business to Mr. Arun Pillai.
And Mr. Sissa, the details that you're putting out, a lot of those details find mention in the FIR in the first round of charge sheet that has been filed. Tushar, I'm coming to you. Well, the political discourse is very sharply divided. On one side, you have the BJP, which says that there are, I can hear one of my guests humming. That's a good humming, but can we continue with the debate, please? All right. Tushar, I'm coming to you. Taking in a view from you, well, the political lines are very clearly drawn. On one side, you have the BJP, which goes on to say that, look, we're not misusing the central agencies. The opposition says, yes, there's been a misuse of the central agencies. None of these leaders, especially from the Aam Aadmi Party, whether it's Satinder Jain, whether it's Manish Sisodia, they've not been able to secure any kind of relief from a court of law. So this entire argument that this is a political witch hunt and a vendetta, there is no prima facie evidence, at least with the courts, even in securing bail, it has not found much merit. Tushar. Am I audible to you, Tushar? Can you hear me? We'll fix that audio. Siddharth Sharma, the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson, is finally with us on the broadcast. Siddharth ji, thank you so much for speaking with us. Well, there's a clear argument that the BJP makes. They argue that if these cases are fabricated, there is nothing on record to prove that Mr. Arvind Kejriwal or Manish Sisodia has done anything wrong. Take that before a court of law and get the FIR quashed. But you cannot evade the due process of law. They call this entire optics of being misused, central agencies being misused. This is a witch hunt of, claiming to be political victims while you have done something wrong. Siddharth ji.
Who said, are you saying that, Anusha, that Aam Aadmi Party has done something wrong?
Who am I to say that, sir? Only courts will tell us that.
Fine, good enough.
Yes.
Then obviously Mr. Arvind Kejriwal has already said that he'll be cooperating with the agencies. The question right now, you are also saying that the BJP is also saying that if there is no relief from the court of law, then there must have been something wrong. Then that also holds good for Veer Savarkar and Bhagat Singh in India, because they were also hoisted with cases of breaking this nation by the British. So let's not get into that. The courts will do its... The courts are supposed to dispense justice according to law, and they will do it in the due course. The question here is very simple, that if Mr. Arvind Kejriwal is being summoned by the CBI on the prima facie case that some bureaucrat deemed him, then isn't it also true that Mr. Adani follows the Prime Minister of India on his foreign jaunts? Then the Prime Minister is also liable to be investigated by a JPC. How can you have one law for the Chief Minister of a nation and another law for the Prime Minister of a nation? Just like Aam Aadmi Party is saying that Arvind Kejriwal has done nothing wrong, and the courts will say it, and you are saying that the BJP is saying that if Arvind Kejriwal has done nothing wrong, let the court say it. The same holds good for the Prime Minister also, because Adani and the Prime Minister
Mr. Sirsa, I'll come to you. Mr. Sirsa, I'll come to you.
is
Yeah.
Adani and the Prime Minister hobnobbing together is public knowledge. And after the Hindenburg report and lakhs and crores of rupees of Adani going down the drain, isn't it also appropriate that the Prime Minister
Siddharji,
also
allow
gets
me an interjection. Siddharji, allow me an interjection. While the opposition, as a leader of the opposition opposed to the BJP at the central level, at the union level, Aam Aadmi Party, Congress or any other political party has the right to ask BJP any question they deem fit in the larger public interest. You have done it on the floor of the House. You have done it in the public domain. Very good. Right now, I'm asking you some very specific questions because this pertains to the liquor policy scam. The argument that the BJP is making is that the Aam Aadmi Party has just one defense. Look, this is political witch hunt. Look, this is vendetta. If all of this is true, then why aren't you able to secure even bail from the courts of law? Mr. Satyendra Jain, Manish Sisodia, all of them have been booked and none of them have been able to secure any kind of bail or relief from the special courts.
at the cost of repetition, Anusha, I will say that Bhagat Singh and Veer Savarkar
Sir,
also did not.
okay,
daily
without
reach,
going into the political... No, Siddharji, one second. Siddharji, one second. Because you repeated your argument. Siddharji, एक minute. Siddharji, without getting into the political grandeur of the status of Bhagat Singh or any other great leader of this country, those were examples of a pre-independent India when the British was ruling this country. Are you comparing that law and order and that constitutional scheme with a modern, independent, democratic India, sir? Is that the comparison you're drawing?
You just drew it perfect analogy. That is exactly what is happening. The law is being abused just like the Britishers abused law. There is a law and there is an abuse of law. There is a matchbox can be used to cook somebody's food and the same matchbox can be used to burn somebody's house.
Substantiate
BJP
that,
is
sir.
Using it and that is
Substantiate that, sir. Substantiate that. That's what I want to know. If the BJP is doing it, substantiate that.
I'm substantiating it by saying, Anusha, that if the law is same for everyone, why doesn't the Prime Minister also agree to a JPC and get a similar kind of clean sheet from JPC? You don't want to get into JPC.
Okay.
After lakhs and crores of rupees going down the drain of the exchequer, and you are harassing opponents right from Telangana to Tamil Nadu to Delhi.
Siddharji, at the risk of repetition, you have not answered my question. I'll come back to you. Tushar, I'll just come to you. I want to bring in Mr. Sirsa as well because he wanted to respond. Then I'll go to Tushar and then I'll bring in Mr. Shantanu Sen as well. Mr. Sirsa, the opposition has one question and I'm sure the BJP will answer it point blank. Why is it that all the investigations are against these high-profile opposition leaders? There are various leaders from the opposition camps which had cases pending against them with the CBI and ED. Once they jumped the ship, now there is no investigation happening against them. Well, if this is not pick and choose, then what is? Mr. Sirsa.
Anushka, that will be wrong to suggest this. That will be wrong to suggest that the people who have joined BJP, no investigation is getting through. There is no investigation going on for them. I think that will be wrong to suggest. Secondly, most importantly, which we need to understand one thing, even in case, if it's for the sake of argument, let's compare that they say the investigation band hogi, there is a court of law, they can move to the court and say that the investigation has been stopped against the such and such accused and the court will take appropriate action. But now what's happening here is, neither they have trust on court. In the case of Adani also, the Supreme Court has constituted a committee, but they don't have a trust on Supreme Court. They don't have a trust on ED. They don't have a trust on Election Commission. They don't have trust on people. People who elected the government, but they don't have a trust. Arvind Kejriwal खुद ही वकील हैं, खुद ही जज हैं, खुद ही अक्यूज हैं और खुद ही क्लीन चिट देते हैं. अब बड़ा एक सिंपल है, अगर ये सच है, अनुज प्लीज मेरे को आप बात करें दे. देखो मैंने आपकी बात में काटा नहीं, मेरी हम्बल रिक्वेस्ट है. मैं समझ सकता हूँ आज आपके ऊपर बहुत गुस्सा आई है, आपकी करप्शन एक्सपोज हुई है. So I can very well understand. So Anushka, the thing is,
Siddharji, मैं आपके पास आऊंगी, आपको पूरा समय दूंगी. Siddharji, मैं आपके पास आऊंगी, पूरा समय दूंगी.
Can you compare एक आदमी जो शराब घोटाले में, नशा के घोटाले में जेल में गया हो, आप उसको भगत सिंह के साथ कंपैरिजन करते हैं, और हमारी जुडिशरी जिसको अब आप ब्रिटिश जुडिशरी के साथ कंपेयर करते हैं केवल इसलिए क्योंकि आप करप्ट लोगों को बचाना चाहते हैं, बेईमान लोगों को बचाना चाहते हैं. तो मेरा आपसे आग्रह है सिद्धार्थ जी, हमारी इस जुडिशरी को ब्लेम मत करें, हमारी जुडिशरी को ब्लेम मत करें. आई हम्बली रिक्वेस्ट यू सिद्धार्थ जी, आई हम्बली रिक्वेस्ट यू, हमारी जुडिशरी जो है.
एक मिनट रुक जाइए.
Mr. Sirsa, please. Mr. Sirsa, आप इतने फ्रस्ट्रेटेड क्यों हैं? See, Anushka, we should not compare the British judiciary, वो जो गुलाम, वो हमारा देश गुलाम था, उनका कंपैरिजन हम अपनी जुडिशरी के साथ करें, हमारे सुप्रीम कोर्ट, हाई कोर्ट के साथ उनका गुलामी वाली का ये कंपैरिजन अच्छा नहीं है। इसका मतलब हम अपनी जुडिशरी पे विश्वास खत्म हो गया इनका। और अभी आप कहें कि कोर्ट हमें रिलीफ ना दे, जब कोर्ट आपको रिलीफ दे नहीं रही फिर भी आप ईमानदार हैं, कोर्ट आपको सजा सुनाए फिर भी आप ईमानदार हैं। अब ये पैमाना कहां से देश में लेके आए? शराब आप बेचें, 2% से 12% आप कमीशन कर दें और उसमें 200 करोड़ रुपया आप लें, 100 करोड़ रुपया एडवांस लें। जिन लोगों ने पैसा लिया वो सरकारी बंगलों में रहें। विजय नायर, अभी तो अरविंद केजरीवाल कहते थे हम छोटे छोटे घर में रहेंगे, अब इनका एक स्टाफ का आदमी विजय नायर, वो एक मिनिस्ट्रियल बंगले में रहता है। अगर वो स्कैम नहीं कर रहा था, आपको नहीं जानता था, तो कैलाश गहलोत के बंगले में कैसे रह रहा था? और आप ही के लोग, दिनेश अरोड़ा ने कोर्ट के सामने जाके 164 में बयान दिए, वेरी एडमिटेड, कि मैंने इतने पैसे कलेक्ट किए, इतने पैसे मनीष जी को दिए, इतने पैसे अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को दिए, इतने पैसे गोवा भेजे, इतने पैसे गुजरात भेजे। अब आप बता दें अरविंद केजरीवाल should come out.
Mr. Tushar Gupta and Shantanu Sen. Tushar, first to you. You had a point to make that point. But more importantly, I also want to talk to you about the optics of how this really comes out. Well, I don't believe in this political balancing and whataboutery in criminal investigations. If the CBI has a case in front of them, they're going to investigate it. That's what they're doing right now. There is no way to conclusively settle the debate that whether this is political witch hunt or vendetta unless we have a final verdict coming in from the court. But that being said, at least in the optics of it, it seems like that most of the major opposition leaders are under the scanner of the central agencies, and that is what the opposition parties are saying. Tushar.
Well, Anusha, let me tell you an interesting fact.
Yeah.
The Aam Aadmi Party has proven that it's not political vendetta. The case that is being investigated, the Aam Aadmi Party has proven it before the Supreme Court that it's not political vendetta. Because when Manish Sisodia was arrested, the Aam Aadmi Party's legal team approached the Apex Court. They got a date, they got a hearing, and not once, Anusha, not once did they say that the case against them was that of political vendetta or violation of their fundamental rights.
Yeah.
Not once before the court did they say this. Instead, you know what they said? They said, we're happy to cooperate in the investigation. We understand there is a case, but we would want Manish Sisodia to just be summoned for questioning and not arrested. So the Aam Aadmi Party today cannot claim it's political vendetta. Number two, this Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson who was talking about Veer Savarkar and Bhagat Singh, Sirsa ji spoke about Bhagat Singh, I'll talk about Veer Savarkar. Do you know, Anusha, last year in July 2022, what Arvind Kejriwal said to the BJP while mocking them politically? Tum log Savarkar ki aulad ho. That is what Arvind Kejriwal thought of Veer Savarkar, and today his spokesperson is citing him to make a case for himself. Number three, at the end of the day, Arvind Kejriwal has only been summoned for questioning. Why is the Aam Aadmi Party pronouncing guilt by saying this is political vendetta? Maybe he's there to aid the cause of the case, maybe to find a solution, maybe to find the actual culprits. Why does the Aam Aadmi Party always believe that one of the people, if ever called for questioning, it is because they are guilty? And number four, and the final point, you might cite political vendetta, you might cite violation of fundamental rights, but you cannot deny there was an excise policy introduced, there were changes made in the excise policy, and the excise policy was withdrawn just when an investigation was ordered. So you can make all the philosophical comments.
I will go back. I'll go back to
you.
the Aam Aadmi Party and Siddharth Sharma and taking a view. But before that, Mr. Shantanu Sen, with the details that have emerged in the public domain and with the fact that Mr. Sisodia and Mr. Satyendra Jain, the former ministers of the Delhi government, have not been able to secure a bail so far from a court of law, prima facie, in your understanding, is there a plausible case for the agency to pursue? Mr. Sen.
When they filed an FIR,
Yes.
they had a case. See, the question of vendetta has arisen, and I can tell you it has arisen only because the power of the CBI to ab initio collect information and register a case is no longer there. From 6 July 2018,
Yeah.
it is not CBI who takes a decision to investigate. The decision is taken by the government of the day, as far as CBI is concerned, and as for anti-corruption department in the state, by the anti-corruption departments of the day. Who passed this law? The parliamentarians did, and nobody has questioned that. Now the Aam Aadmi Party is saying that because the investigation was ordered not by the CBI, but by the government, by the LG and the Home Ministry, it's vendetta because they are ruling party. well, the time will come when AAP may be the ruling party. The AAP will turn the tables on their party. So this vendetta politics, and another point which I would like to say,
Sure.
please don't take bail orders and the contents of the bail orders as any proof of guilt.
Absolutely.
Supreme
Absolutely.
Court has many times said that all bail orders are only as far as bail is concerned.
Yeah.
They will not count for guilt.
Yes.
So any party, whether it is the Aam Aadmi Party or whether it is the BJP spokesman or whether it is you yourself
Sure.
who is suggesting that a bail order not getting bail is a matter of guilt. No.
So,
the
Mr.
law-
Sen,
law
I
says-
want to clarify one thing here.
And the law
I
says
do not believe,
that
and I agree with you there, that whatever is
Like
said
law-
in a bail order is not the reflection on the merits of the case.
Exactly.
And whenever there is an acquittal or a pronouncement of guilt of a particular accused, the bail orders or what is said in the bail orders is not any kind of proof before a court of law.
Therefore, don't argue on the bail orders.
I'm coming to that, sir, the point that I was trying to make. But under PMLA and under various sections under which Mr. Satyendra
No,
Jain
we
and
are
Mr. Manish
discussing
Sisodia.
CBI.
So one
We are
second, there is
discussing police investigation.
there's also an ED case against Mr. Sisodia in which he has not been able to secure bail. The same is true for Mr. Satyendra Jain as well, sir. And under those offences, unless the court comes to a prima facie assessment that you're not guilty, you're not granted a bail. So that's entire argument that there is no proof. If that were true, it would hold in a
But
court
let
of
us-
law and you would
let
get a
us
bail.
wait-
That was my argument.
Let us wait for the court to pronounce a verdict. And that will take some time. But this assertion by either the Aam Aadmi or by the BJP that guilt, vendetta, it is not there. You have passed a law giving powers to the government to register case. You parliamentarians have done it. Now the power has been exercised. So don't blame the government.
Okay, before I
No,
go to Mr. Sirsa and ask him questions about the political will behind these investigations, Siddharth Sharma ji, I'm coming back to you. And I will insist on the question that I asked earlier. If prima facie there is no ground for this FIR to be registered, this entire case is bogus without any evidence to back this investigation, then there should have been application that should have been moved for quashing of this case. We have not seen that investigation or that kind of application come before any court, whether it's the High Court or the Supreme Court. So while in the public domain, the Aam Aadmi Party has been maintaining this narrative, you haven't really backed it with proper legal actions.
I think Anusha, Shantanu Senji has already answered your question, that the present law
I don't think
states
so.
that the political parties, especially the government of the day, has extreme rights, has extreme privileges in initiating investigation on any citizen of India. And it is now very clear that after day before yesterday, Nitish Kumar meeting Arvind Kejriwal and an opposition unity and the BJP is so spooked by Aam Aadmi Party. Please, Aam Aadmi Party has just become a national party 3 days ago. Mr. Nitish Kumar comes and meets Mr. Kejriwal. The opposition unity is on the cards. It is a very clear case, as Mr. Shantanu sir has very clearly enunciated, that this
You
is a clear
forget to
case
name
of
Lalu
witch-
Yadav.
And if it is not a case of witch hunt, if Mr. Arvind Kejriwal is under investigation for prima facie issues, then same prima facie issues are on the PM also regarding his hobnobbing with Adani. Why doesn't he get into a JPC probe with that? It is as simple as that. I've answered all your questions.
Mr. Sirsa, there's a point which is raised by Mr. Shantanu Sen. It's a very pertinent point and it should be raised directly to the BJP. There is absolutely the necessity of a political will whenever these high-profile investigations are initiated and pursued by a premier agency like a CBI or an enforcement directorate. You cannot deny the existence and support of this political will to pursue cases of this nature. That is why in the case of Lalu Prasad Yadav, an investigation has been reopened. That is why we saw in the 1984 anti-Sikh riots case, multiple cases have been opened and now they are coming to a logical conclusion. Is there a political will in some way to nab the opposition leaders? That is what is being argued indirectly. I'm putting it directly to you. Mr. Sirsa.
Okay, thank you. Sure. Now the thing is, there are two different aspects. One is somebody is involved some kind of a crime and by the way of the interference of a government or by the way of the advocate general or somebody who can influence the system. Another thing is somebody is innocent. who has nothing to do with anything, and he is implicated. That is simply impossible. Everybody on this channel will agree to me. There is a High Court, there is a Supreme Court, there is a set of law here. An innocent person, and that too with the stature of a Chief Minister, is implemented without any evidence, without a out of evidence. That is simply impossible. And if it is so, then Aam Aadmi Party is blaming the judiciary, not me or not the BJP, because they have never moved to the judiciary to quash this FIR, which you quoted. If there is no case, then why they went to the court to quash this FIR? Secondly, now they say that bail prima facie batata nahi hai, but bail is also decided on whether the prima facie it looks that is involved or not involved. May it be a CBI, ED, any other criminal agency. You cannot simply pass away by saying that bail ka to isse matlab hi koi nahi hai. Bail has to be granted on what format? Yes, this man looks like prima facie it is not involved in this, or there is not a sufficient evidence to prove that he could be a guilty. Putting somebody behind the jail, no judiciary will ever do that. Not even a single judge on this country, on this system will do it, put somebody in a jail because he is innocent and somebody is put behind bars. That is simply impossible. And when it comes to a person like Manish Sisodia, Satinder Jain went to one judge, went to High Court. Now they are planning to move to Supreme Court. Manish Sisodia went to Supreme Court. Immediately they withdraw their application because they knew that what they're going to ask from Supreme Court, there is a sufficient evidence and it will be placed before the Supreme Court. What stopped them? But then Supreme Court said what? They said you go to High Court. Did they move to High Court? No. Why? Because they knew that there is evidence, and when the evidence will be recorded, they will be unable to answer the questions of the agency.
Siddharji, there are 14 opposition parties that went to the Supreme Court and said that the opposition, is feeling victimized, and these are central agencies which are being misused by the government of the day. The Supreme Court must do something. The court said, look, the law of the land has to be same for everyone and we cannot create any special provisions for you. Then that petition was withdrawn. The withdrawal of that petition actually states that all these arguments made in the political discourse about witch hunt, vendetta, do not really have a legal merit in a court of law. And I want to take that point that Mr. Sirsa just made. Is it about having the right faith in the institutions of this country? Because you hail the judiciary when the verdicts are in your favor, but because right now the verdicts are not in your favor, suddenly it's the reminder of the colonial times.
I think, Anusha, everyone knows that in India, justice is dispensed according to law of the land presently in force. So that explains everything. And as far as Supreme Court saying something about the 14 political parties, yesterday Supreme Court also castigated the central government for hoisting national security issues on everyone. So it's the Supreme Court has also taken to task BJP and the central government on many occasions.
So, can I add? No, one second. Siddharji, can I add to your argument? In a very high-profile investigation concerning one of the opposition leaders, Mr. Sanjay Raut, when he was arrested on some serious charges, and these were similar sections of the PMLA, the court in fact granted him bail within 2 to 3 months. And in that bail order, there were observations of the judge which recorded that prima facie doesn't look like that there is a watertight case that has been made against them. And in fact, you can find many other cases which are not so high-profile in which bail has been granted, where court has come to a prima facie conclusion that there is no evidence on record. If that were the case, that would apply to you as well, sir.
Yes, it would apply to us because in India, the courts do not run on a calendar. A court in Mumbai and a court in Delhi would not run according to a single calendar. There are stages. And when that stage reaches, I am sure that not just Aam Aadmi Party, any citizen of India who is aggrieved, the government of the day, be it Congress during Indira Gandhi's regime or the present regime of the BJP, if it is going to misuse the agencies, the judiciary will automatically, at the appropriate stage of the hearing.
Then why you are worried? No, but then what is your worry? So if you are innocent, then what is your worry? If you believe that judiciary will come before you, then what is your worry?
One at a time. No speaking over each other. Mr. Sirsa, please allow him to make
Why are you so scared of this?
Sir, with due respect. सिद्धार्थ जी इत्मीनान से और आराम से अपना आर्गुमेंट रखिए.
No, but the Supreme Court had said na. But there is a Supreme Court investigation going. But there is a Supreme Court committee constituted by the Supreme Court.
Let Siddharth ji finish his arguments. I'll come to you. Sirsa ji, I'll come to you. Siddharth, 30 seconds to you. Siddharth ji, 30 seconds to you.
Yeah, when Mr. Sirsaji time and again invokes the faith in judiciary, I am also invoking Mr. Sirsa's faith in the parliamentary democracy of this nation, that why doesn't he subscribe to Adani JPC on the PMO? It is as simple as that.
All right, I have last 1 minute on the show. Mr. Sirsa, 30 seconds to you, then I'll give the final word to Tushar. Yes, Mr. Sirsa.
Anusha, as they are talking about Adani, I think they should have a faith in the judiciary, that is Supreme Court. The Honorable Supreme Court has constituted a committee. If anything wrong is there, it will come out. So why are you blaming a judiciary? Why are you blaming a Supreme Court or saying that you don't have a trust in Supreme Court? Let Supreme Court decide, and if there would be any investigation necessary, they will put through it. So please have faith in judiciary. I must request you, because it's Aam Aadmi Party doesn't mean that you will have no trust in judiciary, you have no trust in the Election Commission, you have no trust in President of India, you will have no trust in ED, CBI. Please,
like
I humbly request you, as a constitutionally, you took an oath. You took
All right,
an
last
oath
30
to honor
seconds
the
I have on the show.
Constitution.
Tushar, you have a point
So
to
I
make.
humbly
Tushar,
request
Tushar,
you, please
Gupta,
have faith.
Tushar,
Please
Gupta,
have
please.
faith.
Tushar, Gupta, please. Yes.
Corruption has done, you have to go to jail.
Siddharji,
You had made a money,
please,
now you have to go
let
to jail.
Tushar make his point.
If somebody had made a money by the way of corruption,
One
then he has
second,
to go
one
to jail.
second, Mr. Sirsa, and Siddharji. Siddharji, you've made that point. You've registered that point. You've registered that point. You have registered that point. Tushar.
Siddharji, for the record, you're on national television, so at least get your facts right when you come to a serious debate. Number two, Anusha, let's refresh the public memory, because here the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson was elaborating about how the BJP is scared. Siddharji, how many seats does the Aam Aadmi Party have in the Lok Sabha today? Please enlighten us. It's 0. Not even 1 seat. So no party has any reason to fear, but instead it's your party which has been indulging in corruption for a while in Delhi that really needs to introspect. That's all.
All right, I'm very short of time. That's all the time that I have. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal will appear before the Central Bureau of Investigation. Mr. Sirsa, Tushar Gupta, Siddharth Sharma and Shantanu Sen, thank you gentlemen for joining us today evening.